Okay, so this is the Hikoki B16RM, right? So it is Hikoki is if you're not too familiar, is it's a combination of Hitachi and Koki Industries. So these are both Japanese companies. Although I have to say that this drill is made in China. Okay, so let me give you a wider shot so you can get a good look. Okay, so let's dig in. Now you can see that I have here the top cover. I've opened it. So this is typically secured with this little screw here, but I've undone it for the sake of this video. So inside this cover there is a handy chart for us to select the proper belt arrangement that corresponds to the desired spindle speed. So when this drill was first delivered to me, it was set at the lowest speed, but since then I think I've changed it to this one over here, 2180 revolutions per minute. So this is better suited for drilling aluminum, which I do most often. So you can see here that the belts are tensioned, right? So I suppose that this is the kind of the correct tension for the belts, right? So there is a pulley for the motor, there is a idler, and this one goes to the spindle, right? So you can swap out the pulley arrangements by loosening this knob here. There is one more on the other side of the drill, and then tugging at this lever. So this loosens the belt tension, and then you can swap out the belts. Once you're done, you just push it back into position, tighten these two knobs, and your your desired arrangement can be set, right? So after you do that, close the lid, secure the screw. I'm gonna do that later. Now, so here we're looking at the lever. So it has 3 arms, right? So I think these are removable, see, depending on the arrangement that you prefer. Okay, so let's okay, I want to talk about a little bit about the arm because it's a little bit stiff for my liking. So this stiffness, or this tendency to rotate back and bring the spindle back up, can be adjusted by this spring here underneath this cap. So it's a torsion spring, I believe. So in the manual there are instructions on how you can increase or decrease the tension in this spring, and this controls the tendency to move the spindle back up. So I haven't gotten around to it yet, so this is still a bit too stiff for my liking. And since we're here, we're going to talk about the what is this? This is the depth gauge. Yes. So there are nuts here that you can move about along the gauge to set the depth at which you want to plunge the drill bit into the workpiece, right? So this kind of limits how much you can plunge. So this is very useful for doing repeated drilling, drilling at repeatedly at a set depth. However, I wouldn't rely too much on this for accuracy, because you can see that this is kind of like slanted, and it isn't parallel to the axis of the spindle. So I'm not sure if this is obvious to you, but it is kind of canted at an angle. So I would only use this for trust this for kind of very rough estimations. There are metric markings here, right? So this is typical because I bought this in Singapore, right? Now, you will also notice that there is another nut right here. So this is also adjustable. So when we move this nut up and down the gauge, when we move it up, right, so this limits how far, this kind of prevents the spindle from retracting back up into the head of the drill. So this is useful for setting kind of like your drill bit. You want to bring it down, set it down, and then you make the arrangements, make sure that things are aligned before the drill bit is retracted, or the drill bit along the with the chuck is retracted back up into the drill, right? So if I were to lower it back down, alright, so you can see that the spindle is retracted fully back into the body, into the head here. What else should I talk about? Well, you have the motor obviously at the very back. So this is a large, quite a large and powerful motor, and I like it very much. It's not too noisy. It is still noisy, but it's not extremely loud. And the large motor helps me to drill much larger holes than I was previously able to. So let's talk a little bit about this switch here. Right, so this switch, as you can see, controls the light. So I like this very much because it illuminates the table over here. Right, so the machine doesn't come with a light bulb, so you kind of have to get your own. Yeah, so the manual also doesn't say what type of bulb the machine uses, but I have found that it uses the bulbs with the E27. Is it a thread or something? But it's an E27 type of light bulb, so you can get the bulbs of various shapes and sizes, but it is the thread or the diameter of the thread at the bottom of the bulb, right, that is suitable for the socket that is inside here, right. Let me show you the bulb that I got. This is the box, right? So this is the Philips Genie 8-watt cool daylight bulb, but I kind of would have preferred to have gotten the kind of the mushroom type of bulb rather than this, because I feel that it would have illuminated the table better, but it's okay because I didn't want to risk getting the wrong type of bulb, so I went for the cheapest I could find. Yeah, so the switch is here, very convenient, right? And next is this one. So this is I like this very much as well. This is kind of like the laser to align the spindle with your work. So when I turn it on under normal lighting conditions, it isn't very obvious. So this is off and this is back on, right? You can see that the spindle is aligned to this spot on the vise here, right? Okay, so if I turn off the lights, the ambient lights, this will be much more obvious, but it wouldn't be kind of an accurate depiction of the environment that I typically would drill in. So, well, there you go. So the laser runs on 2 AAA batteries. This isn't included, right? The laser is included in the when you purchase the drill, but the batteries are not similar with the bulb, right? So moving on, oh yes, I want to talk a little bit about the switch here. So when the drill came, it had this large emergency stop button, right? And there was kind of like a flap that prevented me from accessing the on button. So I removed that shield because I felt that it was getting in the way. So I think that I'm still able to access the stop button as well as the on button in this arrangement. So I just chuck that aside. I've kept the screws. I put them back in here in case I lose them, right? So this is the kind of the top part. I'm gonna move downwards now. So this is the table, right? The table is adjustable in this way. Whoops. Okay, table is adjustable in this way, right? Okay. It can also rotate about this horizontal axis, the Y horizontal axis. So this means that it can tilt 45 degrees to this side and 45 degrees to the left. I haven't done that yet because when it arrived, it was already aligned to the axis of the spindle. I don't want to change it. I'm happy with the way things are now. Okay, so the table can also be moved. Ooh, let me see whether I can do this, right? You can see it can kind of is this tighten? Okay, well, I'm not gonna move it about too much. Okay, let me see. Yeah, Can you see that kind of that little bit of movement here? So the whole table is supposed to be able to rotate about this cylinder here, and this rack will kind of move about the surface, the circumference of this cylinder. But on this machine, it's the rack is a little bit seized. The top moves freely, but the bottom is seized. So I'm not sure if this is due to kind of like a misalignment, over tightening, or simply because there is a lack of lubrication at this point. But this isn't a function that I use very often, so I'm not gonna get too hung up on it. I don't think I'm gonna contact the seller or Hikoki about this thing. But if anyone wants to share their opinion about this, whether you've had a similar problem with this machine, please let me know in the comments. Okay, so I want to talk a bit about let me switch hands here, about this crank here. So this crank obviously lets you crank the table up, as you can see here. So cranking up is fine, but cranking down, on the way down, it kind of makes a noise, right? So I think this is something to do with the worm screw, the mating of the worm screw with the pinion there. So again, if anybody wants to tell me what's going on with this and how to prevent this, let me know in the comments. So going down isn't quite smooth, but going up is okay, yeah. But since I've got the vise on, it takes a little bit of effort to move it up and down. Okay, so now let's talk about the chuck, not the spindle, the chuck. So this chuck allows us to chuck a drill bit of 1 to 16 millimeters in diameter. So this is I'm quite happy with this because it allows me to make some of the larger holes that I've been that I've been wanting to do, right? So the machine comes with a chuck key that goes like this, right? So it has this pin that is a kind of a spring-loaded pin. So this makes sure this pin is to ensure that the user doesn't leave the chuck key in the chuck, right? So every time you kind of use it, it kind of wants to pop itself out. I'm not a big fan of this. I know the point of this is to ensure that the key isn't left in the chuck, so that when you spin up the machine, the chuck key doesn't go flying. But this really decreases the experience of using this drill press. So I have my own chuck key without the pointy bit there, so I much prefer using this. I have never had the problem of leaving the chuck key in the drill press before, so I'm just gonna use this, right? So nobody else is using this drill except for myself. So if the chuck key is in the drill press, then I have only myself to blame. So I'm just gonna use this. I will say that the user manual insists on the user using only their chuck key. So I'm not gonna follow the manual, right? So hope these are not the famous last words. Okay, so moving down, we have the table. The surface of the table isn't quite impressive. I'm not sure if you can see. I certainly can feel the bumpiness of the surface, of the machine marks on the surface, right? Okay, so it's a little bit grimy because I've been using this for about a week, but even when it was brand new, it was kind of rough. Yeah, so I wouldn't want to set anything like a very smooth piece of very smooth piece of work or smooth piece of plastic right flat down on this table. Yeah. Okay. So the machine also didn't come with T-nuts. So these are the T-nut slots. Okay. And I've found that the M12 T-nuts are okay. We can use them here. So I bought these online. However, these M12 T-nuts are not entirely suitable. Now, the reason for this is that they kind of stick out. Alright, so I've got M12 bolt here. that goes into the T-nut, and when I tighten the bolt fully, you can see that the T-nut surface is proud of the surface of the table, so this prevents the bottom part of the T-nut here from engaging with with this surface, right, of the T-slot, so which makes the T-nut not very useful. I'm gonna see if I can machine these T-nuts down. I'm not sure, but they are very cheap. They are like $2 a piece or something like that, or even less, right? So I'm not gonna get too hung up on them not being perfect. Okay, so this is just the Allen wrench for adjusting the T-nut here, right? So I got this vise. This is kind of a donated vise, so it isn't very pretty. It's very rusty, in fact. Yeah. Okay, so what else should I talk about? Well, you can see that there is a very large foot, so the drill press is pretty stable, although I wouldn't rock it too much, right? So typically, let me show you guys this one. Okay, so typically I would set this kind of plastic basin right below my table here, so that the chips fall right down, and I have to, and you know, this spares me from cleaning up. I still have to clean up, but not as much, right? So if I'm drilling aluminum, I set this basin here, and if I'm drilling something else, then I have this bucket here that has all the wood and plastic chips. So this isn't accumulated from using this drill press. Yeah, so this was from before, right? So eventually I hope to recycle this aluminum. I don't know, I just put it into the recycling bin, and I hope they can do something useful with this. Okay, so first impressions so far, I'm liking this drill. It is very powerful, right? It is not very noisy, and I especially like the light here, right, that allows me to illuminate the table. It is pretty heavy. It's about 75 kilograms, with much of the weight concentrated at the top, so you have to be very careful when you shift it. But otherwise, I think this has been a good buy, and I hope it will serve me for many years to come. Yeah. So if you have any questions you want to ask about this drill press, any comments you want to make, you know, how I'm setting things up wrong, please by all means let me know in the comments. And thank you so much for watching. Yep. See you next time.